Hey there folks, it's me TheTacticalBrit, and you've seen a lot of Modern Warfare content on the channel recently, and that's purely down to the fact that I'm just looking forward to the game. It's something that's caught my eye. I think it's a tactical shooter that's very much on my street, and well, it's a bit of a department from the normal kind of norms we've seen over the last few years, and almost a return to the former glory of the old Modern Warfare days, which is why I'm quite excited about it. With that all being said, there's lots of things that I really want to see come to this new edition of the game and new installment that I kind of hope come true. I do have a wish list here, and well, let's just dive into it, because there's a lot of stuff here that I really hope both Call of Duty avoids and Call of Duty advocates, and based on what we've seen so far, it looks like the game's heading in a relatively positive direction. This video today is brought to you by Aorus Gaming. Feel free to check out their products in the description below. They run everything that's in my PC, the motherboard, the RAM, and I highly recommend them if you're looking for PC components, peripherals, or gaming monitors. Lots of great stuff, so check it out in the link in the description below. The first one for me is just scaling back killstreaks. Killstreaks in Call of Duty have really just reached a point of absurdity where I feel like even the most skilled of players don't really get that good a luck of a draw. Now, when you're in any kind of arena shooter, there will be moments where you just flat out get unlucky or overwhelmed, and simply in Call of Duty that happens quite a lot. And having things like scorestreaks and killstreaks is great, but when they come to the point where somebody joining the game or the server at the time is just like, lol, safe, see you later, this isn't for me, that's kind of the problem we're seeing here, because Call of Duty, especially in the last few years, has reached absurdity with these things. They're everywhere, some of them are just outrageously overpowered, and it just doesn't really have any place in the game. Because what really happens is, when you introduce a factor to a game that most players can't counteract in any shape or form, then all of a sudden you've left skillful players in that lobby with zero alternative. So I really hope these are scaled back and toned down in the new installment, just purely because I want to see a better environment where skilled players, even on losing sides, get a better say and a better representation of what they're doing in game. Also, if you kind of do the math, killstreaks and scorestreaks aren't that great a concept, because let's say you get 2 or 3 good games out of 10, the likelihood is, in all those other 7 or 8 so games, somebody else is going to have the same capacity of killstreaks and scorestreaks as you, meaning you'll probably be miserable for 7 or 8, but happy for 2 to 3. And I really hope that changes, and I really hope the idea here is that people who play consistently well get that feeling of being consistently playing well. Moving on to the movement system, and I really hope we start to see some punishing animations. I don't mind vaulting and stuff being a little bit quicker, but going prone is certainly something in the game that I think people are sick of, and I think people are sick of it in general in most shooters. Now, I don't think that you should immediately get rid of it, but in the old days of Modern Warfare 1, and a throwback to its original roots, when you went prone in Modern Warfare 1, for starters you could barely move whilst laying down, you have to like crawl really slowly. You also made a lot of noise, and from going into prone to getting out of prone was actually a pretty long animation. It punished you for doing so, and it made it difficult to get set up on the fly so quickly like we see today. And I'd really like to see some kind of return to that. I think punishing movement animations like grenade throwing, proning and stuff like that is the kind of decision making that needs to be entered into the franchise, especially in a slower, more tactical environment. And I really hope that when we see people go prone and stuff, they have to think twice about whether or not it's actually a good idea. Speaking of movement systems, I'd really like to see leaning in the game. I think there have been some hints towards it, though I might not be entirely sure, but it's just something that could be very simplistically done. If you rebind the melee button, you could make leaning left and right clicking into either analog stick, and I think that's a very good way of doing it, or at least, for example, on PC, Q and E. And I really think these are great ways of adding leaning to a game, and I think players should be rewarded for taking corners in a methodical manner, especially in a much more slow and tactical environment. The next one's pretty obvious, and that's a robust ranking system. I would really like to see a good ranking system in the game, and I feel like Call of Duty's been pretty successful with it in the past. Reward players for winning matches, punish them for losing, but at least consider how they played individually on a performance scale. I think this is something that will be of benefit to the game if it's installed right, and I'd really like to see a better and robust stat tracking system for individual weapons in the game, and yeah, just being able to get a statistical idea of how your loadout performs in each individual matchup would be a really great way of adding another layer of interest and another layer of competition to Call of Duty. The next one feels like a really obvious one, and we've seen spatterings of it recently, but less so in the past, and that is obviously we want dedicated servers. Any peer-to-peer stuff stuff is simply a no-go and quite frankly unacceptable in 2019, and I really hope we don't see anything like that. Alongside all of this, it's something that has to come up because it's Activision. Just monetize the game right. Don't do any bullshit, please. It's such a simple thing to do. If you make a fun and enjoyable experience that seems balanced without any pay-to-win elements or elements that seem far too grindy, people will play your game and buy your things. You only need to look at Fortnite, Rainbow Six, or other free-to-play titles that when a good environment is fostered, people will carry on buying skins because they feel invested in the title, especially if there is a ranked system where people can keep coming back and bettering themselves. I've spent a lot of money on skins in Rainbow Six Siege. Hell, I even bought the Season Pass, and I know Call of Duty is rumored not to have a Season Pass this year, but I bought one back in those days for Rainbow Six because I really liked the concept of it, and I really wanted to play more because I kept playing the rank mode over and over again, and even though I'd already paid £45 for a video game, I was happy to spend more because of the environment. It was fun, I came back, I carried on buying skins. You don't need to aggressively monetize games anymore in order for people to buy your content. Just offer them cool looking shit and a way to look at it, be it a weapon inspect animation, which already exists in Modern Warfare Remastered, or Modern Warfare 1 Remastered, and just let people go wild with it. Let people customize their stuff as much as they want, and don't be aggressive with it. Just let people enjoy the damn game. And finally, and probably most importantly, I really just hope they stick to their guns here, because I feel like this is an installment of the game that kind of rips the game away from the 12 and 13-year-olds that play the franchise just because they want to see something explode. And that's not to demean anybody or sound very condescending, it's just that Call of Duty for a very long time now, since probably anything post Black Ops 1 or Modern Warfare 1, has just been riddled with a franchise that's not really a good franchise. It's just been ups and downs of random shooters that try to do different things because they lost the original formula. And the original formula was the fun and enjoyment that most professional players and players of a more adult variety enjoyed in Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 1 as well. They were successful shooters because they appealed to a much larger audience as opposed to making lots of shit explode, having lots of things that looked pretty like bright pink and bright gold guns. Like, it's okay to have some of that stuff in there, just if you're gonna go for a slower, more methodical Call of Duty, then stick to your guns. Make that the case, don't change it, don't change anything, don't backtrack on features, just stay where you want the game to be. Because I really do feel as though when this game releases, you're going to get the professionals in particular, and also those who like follow them, which are like, you know, that kind of age bracket of people, up in arms about the game. Mostly because I feel as though the professionals are going to suck at this new Call of Duty because it's nothing like they've ever played before, and it's nothing similar to what they've ever played before. And I can really see a backlash coming where all of them are like, we miss this, we miss this, we miss this, because they're bad at a new game and aren't willing to adapt. So yeah, just don't do that shit, please. Anywho, that's it from me, TheTacticalBrit. Let me know what you want to see in the new Call of Duty in the comment section below. I really appreciate you guys. Love you all coming here. It's great fun for me. I'm having a blast with YouTube recently. You know, your comments, your likes, everything you do, I see. I know sometimes in YouTube it doesn't feel like that. But for those of you who have been here for a long while, you know I'm pretty hands-on with this shit. And I carry on doing that, I guess. I want to carry on doing that for as long as possible. So as always, you know, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and just chat with me like you normally would.